Hello. Hi there, friends. Welcome to Move Into Coherence. I'm Pamela Stokes. In today's episode, we will be doing more of the lymph system, moving the lymph fluid, and we will be doing particularly the arms today. So let's get into it. Let's begin by having a little heart coherence, and then we'll do the waking and shaking, which is the 3-part motion. And then we'll come back and we'll learn a little bit more about the lymph system and a little review. And then we'll get into the motion. Thanks for being here. I do appreciate it. So let's start with our 3 bells and we'll go into our heart coherence. These bells come from Tibet. They were a gift to the students of the Brave Thinking Masters, and this is from Mary Morrissey. I was able to be part of this group for a couple of years, and I've learned a lot from her. So I appreciate having these bells. Oh, I wanted to actually mention something because I was born in the Chinese Year of the Dragon, and this just happens to have dragons on it. So that's pretty cool. This is also the Year of the Dragon this year, and it happens to be, for me, the same one that was in my birth year. So it's pretty exciting for me. I feel like I'm coming back around. All right, so here's our 3 bells, and we let them ring to completion. And now we'll drop into heart coherence. So just bringing your awareness to your heart area. And if it helps to have your hand there, please do that for yourself. I like to do it myself. Bringing your awareness into your heart. And then allowing your breath to slow down a little deeper and a little slower than usual. And ideally, we're looking for about 5 or 6 seconds in and 5 or 6 seconds out. In through the nose is ideal. And you may want to close your eyes. And then imagine that the breath is flowing in and out through the heart. Five or 6 seconds in, 5 or 6 seconds out through the heart. And then bringing to mind something that helps you to feel gratitude or appreciation. And it could be something simple, like the sun is still doing its thing for us. And then over the next couple or 3 breaths, allow your breathing to come back to a natural pace, and you can relax your hand and let your eyes come open to a soft gaze. Thanks for joining in with me on that one. When we practice heart coherence, and I like to do it every day. In fact, I made a sort of an agreement with myself that I would do it anytime I was using the restroom. And so I just drop into a little heart coherence. And it has been shown that even if we're just a few people doing it simultaneously, we can affect the field. And this has been measured. So I wanted to describe that actually there's a group of people that are doing this from 11 a.m. to 11:15 a.m. Pacific time, Sundays. And so we're kind of tying into that. And just know that there are thousands of other people doing this simultaneously with us when we do our heart coherence. Pretty cool. All right, so let's go ahead and do our waking and shaking. Please come to standing and join in. Yes, the first part of waking and shaking is called waking up. And what we're doing here, we're standing with our feet in line with our shoulders, and we're going to get small and then we're going to get large or expanded. And that's what we do in waking up. So the knees will bend, they'll move in toward one another. We round the back, curl over, bend over, and drop the head down. The arms will bend so the hands come up towards the elbows. And we get round and small. And then slowly letting your legs get long and your belly and your back and your arms get long. We reach up, we look up, and then let your arms float down by your sides. Take a break, take a breath. Notice what's different for you. And then we'll do that one more time. The knees bend, they come in toward one another. They don't need to touch. And then rounding the back, curling over, bending the arms so the hands come up towards the shoulders. Drop the head, get round, get small. And then slowly let the legs get long, let the belly get long, let the back get long, the arms get long, the head and eyes reach up, look up, and then let your arms float down by your sides. Take a break, take a breath. And then we'll do the tongue. The tongue is where we press the tip of the tongue up to the center of the roof of the mouth. And we press it gently up, and we're creating a little tension in the digestive tract, which is about 33 feet long. It's a bunch of tubes. Well, it's all one tube, but it's all in different directions once we get down to the low belly. So when we create that little bit of pressure, we're tightening up the whole digestive tract. And then when we release slowly, we're letting that digestive tract soften. So see if you can notice that for yourself. Let's go ahead and do it together. Pressing the tip of the tongue gently up into the center of the roof of the mouth. And then slowly, of about 5 seconds, allow your tongue to soften all the way down to the root of the tongue. And then let's take a breath and a break and just notice how that feels for you. I'm definitely noticing some settling. All right, let's go on to the third part of waking and shaking, which is the shaking. This is called a quick shake, and it comes through the practice of Qigong. What we're doing is we're allowing our body to move this way so that we can move the lymph fluid, and we're going to be moving the lymph in a more particular way later. But this will get it all flowing, our blood flow increases, and the energy inside of our body will also increase. So let's do this together. The tailbone is where we begin, and we wag our tail like we're a happy dog. I know it looks silly, but let's be silly together. Here we are, knowing that this is really good for us. Let that tail wag, and let your legs be soft and wiggly, and knees are soft and bent maybe. And let your arms be soft and wiggly, and let this come all the way into the neck and the head. Everything's shaking. This is a gentle shaking. knowing that we're moving our fluids and our energy around. And then move that weight, that shaking up the spine all the way to the crown of the head, and we'll pause there. And then loose lips, motorboat sound. Whoops. And take a break and take a breath. It's funny, I stuck my tongue out on that one at first and started doing a raspberry. That's not what we're doing. We're doing motorboat. So when we do the motorboat, thanks for joining in. When we're doing the motorboat, we are loose with our mouth loose. We're allowing ourselves to have softening through the mouth and the jaw. Okay, so into the lymph system we go, a little deeper. So we did this a couple weeks ago where we were doing the movement of the lymph through the head. And if you were there to join in, that was, well, actually, I think now 3 weeks, because we had a week off where I was attending a workshop with Jean Houston last weekend. But when we did this, we were just doing the head. And today we're going to add in a little bit more with the head, but also we're going to work with the arms today. So I wanted to do a little review of what the lymph system is and how it helps us. I'm going to take a sip of water. So the lymph system maintains the fluid levels in the body and the blood, and it carries any of the old dead cells and the tissues that have broken down, and will bring that out of the body. The lymph nodes are the places along the lymph system where these cells can get digested by our white blood cells and the bacteria that we make. These are things that we are doing for ourselves, and it will digest those little bits of cells. And then the fluid will move into the ducts, and there are 2 major ducts, and we'll be working with them in a little bit. And then it can go back into the bloodstream and get carried into the kidneys and then filtered out, and that's what comes out in our urine. So we're moving these fluids to also maintain the pressure inside of the body. So we kind of have these levels of pressure. We have different what are called diaphragms throughout the body that help to maintain the balance of pressure throughout our system. Well, sometimes we need more pressure in certain areas, and so these diaphragms will sort of close off and we can create more pressure in one area. But the lymph fluid is here to kind of equilibrate or maintain that balance throughout the entire body. So that it's very important for that as well. When we have the pressure buildup, we might experience pain because the buildup of that pressure is affecting the fascia. And the fascia is our connective tissue. If we took all our bones and muscles and everything, all our organs away, it would still look like us. The fascial network is our 3D shape. And so when we have these buildup of pressure from the fluid building up in between these diaphragms, these membranes, we can get the fascia to expand maybe too much. And there are pain receptors in the fascia that indicate there's something going on. So when we hear pain, when we feel pain, know that that is a message that there's something that is not balanced. Maybe we've got too much fluid in one area and not enough in another. So the fascia is communicating continually to us what's going on inside the body. And that is a very helpful piece of information. So when we move the lymph fluid, we're allowing those pressures to equilibrate. And you may notice pain goes away because we no longer have a gathering up of this fluid and causing the pressure against the fascial network and sending that pain signal. I have noticed in recent, and for myself as well, recent people, clients that have noticed that they're having shoulder pain. And this today, what we're learning today, is going to help to eliminate that. Because as I said, again, if we've got too much fluid in one area, or it's not flowing. Maybe the lymph nodes are getting kind of stuck and there's too much stuff in there. This moving the lymph ourselves, this self-lymphatic drainage, it's called, can eliminate the pain that you may be experiencing in the shoulders. One of the things that causes the shoulders to have this increased buildup of fluids, let's say, or pressure buildup, is that we're tightening, we're raising our shoulders up, we're bracing. Or it could feel, and a lot of women feel this especially, and maybe men too. I'm not a man, so I don't really know, but society puts a lot of pressure on women, especially, to be the mom and the wife and the worker and the on and on and on, right? There's a lot of pressure and we got to keep it all together and, push on through. And I know men receive a lot of pressure as well because they're supposed to be the protectors, the providers, and that's a big burden to put on to our men. So we've really been putting a lot of pressure, a lot of weight on our shoulders. And so this motion today is really going to help with releasing the pressure and knowing we don't have to do it all. We're not the only ones, and we can let go of some of this burden. So, in a metaphorical way, in the body, we can say we're releasing the weight from our shoulders. It's not all on us. And I feel that this is important for us to remember that there's a lot of influences in our world, from the sun and the solar flares, which are huge right now. By the way, just wanted to mention that we've had vast amounts of solar flares, many more than our history has ever shown that we know about. And so this is a heightened amount of energy that's coming in. So that is in and of itself a big thing. Excuse me. We also have the pressures of, making enough money to survive and getting the right job. And maybe we don't like our job. I read a statistic that said somewhere around 70% of people don't like their job. So maybe this is something that is opening for you to remember and realize, gosh, I have a lot more skills and gifts than I even remembered. And I'm going to use some of these things and start creating from a different place. And who knows where that will lead for you. But trusting that life isn't just a waking up and doing your work and then going to sleep and getting drunk on the weekends. That's not what this is about. We're dealing with evolution here. These energies coming in from the sun, expanding us and allowing more to move through us may feel overwhelming. A lot of people are experiencing that. A lot of people are experiencing insomnia, where they're having trouble sleeping, or on the opposite end, they're having trouble staying awake. They're fatigued. And I believe and I know that these energies are coming in. We are not used to them. So I feel that these different modalities or these different techniques that we're learning with the lymph system is actually going to help equilibrate the energies, allow them to flow easily through us so that we're not feeling this congestion, this tightness, the burden, the weight on our shoulders, all of those things that can lead to really feeling small. And we have talked about this before in the realm of the new physics. What we learn is that anytime we have space, expansion inside the body, that allows for these ambient energies, which are always swirling around us. We can't get away from them. We're part of it. we add more to it by feeding the field when we feed it heart coherence, for example. But these ambient energies are allowed a space to come into when we create this expansion and space in our body. And these energies can come in and they can start swirling around. And this is how we create more life. We matter. We create matter. And so by creating space and allowing ourselves to feel that expansion, the new energies that are coming in, these very large bursts of energy that are coming in, have a place to swirl, and we can create more life for ourselves. And this is a good time, particularly this month of February and into March, maybe a really good time for you to explore the things that you love to do, and have fun with that. Play around with maybe art uh, materials, play around with some of those things, or maybe you're more of a creator in writing, or maybe you like to create music, yeah, or food. There's a lot of things that we can create. And maybe you're pregnant and you're creating a new life. That's a big one. So just imagine the things that you are, uh, that maybe give you a feeling, a sense of, I'm really alive and I have these gifts to share on the planet. I think this is a good time for that. All right, so back to the lymph system. Basically, we are going to have buildups when we've had an injury, when we've had a surgery. We might have a buildup of lymph fluid, but they can also be simply energetic, or a thought, a recurring thought that, yes, I'm burdened, I have too much weight on my shoulders. These kinds of things can also cause this constriction. One thing I do want to say about the lymph system, and I said this the last time when we learned about it a few weeks ago, is that it is not carrying cancer cells. So this is something that we have heard, and we learn that this is a truth. Well, this has not been shown to be accurate. And I have a friend, I've mentioned her before, Dr. Jody Rosenblatt, who is a cell biologist and has run a lab for many, many years, decades. And just to give you sort of a level of where she is, she received the largest NIH grant ever given to a single laboratory for her work in cancer. So she's top notch. And what she had found many years ago was that this metastasis, in other words, where we think we have a tumor in one area and then the cells are moving through the lymph system and getting to other parts of the body, that has not been proven. And what she found was these cells are actually forming in different parts of the body simultaneously. So there's no metastasis that happens. It's a controversial piece of information, I know, but she's validated it both with her fish that she works with, zebrafish, but also with mice, and it was published, so accepted by her peers, that this is so, and it does kind of flip the paradigm of cancer around, and maybe it will help you to feel that our body's not attacking itself. That's what I really want us to gather from a lot of the information that I share here, is that our body is ever seeking more life. We're not trying to kill ourselves. It's not trying to die. If our body produces cancer, there's a reason. And the emotional component of that is very important. The emotional component, which is what underlies the development of cancer, usually relates to people pleasing, doing something that you don't really want to do for another person to maintain that relationship at any cost, but not being authentic to yourself. So that's a really important part of becoming our greatest, highest selves, is to remember what's important to me. What do I value? So we have a balance between these two. We can't just be all about self. That doesn't work because we are interdependent. We can't get away from that. That's a really important thing. In order to eat, somebody's got to grow the food and somebody's got to bring it to the store. And then, the people in the store have to put it out on the shelf. So just a small example of our interdependence. So we can't separate the two. We've got to combine them and know that, yes, it's important to care for others. Yes, it's important to be kind, but at what cost? So we want to make sure that we are being authentic in ourselves and our values and what we stand for. At the same time, we can also give. So it's a living that allows us to give to ourselves and receive for ourselves. We do receiving hands to receive in the good. And then we also have enough to share. And this is where we can give to others. And this is a valuable part of being a part of this world, that we are interdependent, but we are in our sovereignty, in our own authenticity. And this mindset is going to make it so that cancer doesn't have a chance. There's no reason for it to form. So just knowing those kinds of pieces, and the lymph system isn't moving cancer around and causing more cancer in other places. That just doesn't happen. So we do want to move the lymph so that we can get this flow and so that we can feel ease and comfort in the fascial network, so there's not this constriction and pain and so forth. See if there's anything else I wanted to say about that. Oh, yes. In the brain, we have a lot of lymph vessels, but they are connected to the blood vessels. In fact, they're concentric, which means you have the blood vessel, which is a tube, and then outside of that, another tube, and that's the lymph vessels. And at night, when we sleep, or whenever you sleep, this is when those lymph vessels are more active. So during our sleep is when our brain is cleaning itself. So if you feel tired and you want to sleep, let your body sleep so that you know, oh, my lymph fluid is flowing in my brain and letting me have a clean lymph system. All right. So the breathing that just reminded me is one way that we can move the breath. Move the lymph is by moving the breath. And what I mean by that is allowing ourselves to fully breathe. So what I'm feeling moved to introduce to you is some breathing awareness of where we're breathing. And we can breathe into different parts of the body. Where we bring our attention, where we focus our attention, that's where lymph and blood will flow, and energy will flow there as well. So this is part of moving the lymph by bringing the breath into certain areas and noticing that. So let's just go ahead and try some breathing into different parts of the body. Just see what comes from that. So let's go ahead and begin by bringing the hands, and I'm going to show you here, to the side ribs right here. Just bring your hands like this. You could cross them over. That's another way to do this, and just let yourself feel the side ribs. So as we're breathing, see if you can allow your side ribs to expand into your hands as you breathe in. And we're using the nose, it's important. And then exhaling, and see if you can allow the breath to move out of that area. We'll do a couple breaths here. Inhaling. Feel the side ribs moving into your hands. And then exhaling. And feeling them get smaller. So right away, you are breathing into a place that maybe you weren't aware of before. And now we'll bring the hands a little lower. So we're going to bring one hand above the navel and another hand below the navel. And let's go ahead and try that together. So again, breathing through the nose and letting your hands feel the expansion. So not that you're pushing so much, but allowing release. So inhaling. See if you can feel both the hands expanding and then, or moving out, and then exhaling, softening. And again, inhaling, feeling the belly expand under the hands, and exhaling. Very nice. And now we're going to come even lower. So we're going to go into the very lowest part of the belly here, right above the pubic bone. And maybe you'd like to bring a hand behind on the sacrum here. And allow yourself to feel those places now. And we're breathing in. This may be a little more challenging for you to find the back hand, but see if you can do that. And I'm hearing my cat scratching at the door. I forgot to put up the barrier. Oh my goodness. Okay, and release. I think I've got to let them in. And another expanding breath into the low belly and the low back. And exhale and soften. So with that awareness, you may notice, gosh, more of me is breathing. I'm not just up here in my lungs. There's like my whole body's breathing. That is a really important part of moving the lymph. Okay, it seems like my cat decided he had better things to do. Okay, I would like to recognize Mildred is here. Thank you for saying hello, Mildred. And I realized that you are in Kenya. I looked it up and it's nighttime for you. So I do appreciate you staying up late and being here with us. It's very nice. As I said before, I feel like I'm global because I have a listener in Kenya. So thank you for representing the rest of the world for me, Mildred. Very nice. Okay, so that breathing technique is something that you can do for yourself. I feel like it's a nice thing to do as you're falling asleep and just remembering, or anytime really, just remembering that there's more space that we can create. And as we talked about earlier, when there's space, that's where we create more life for ourselves. And we can use that energy that gets created to create for the planet too, like bringing our gifts to the world. Okay. I did want to mention too, I didn't really have a whole lot of script today or a lot of notes today for myself. I thought I would just sort of free form it. And what I wanted to talk about was this experience that I got to have this past weekend with Jean Houston in her home. The overarching message there was basically the things that I like to teach here, which is we are powerful. We have the capacity to bring healing to ourselves. We have the capacity to be in our greatest, highest energetic self and create more vibrations for the planet and to bring our gifts forward. And a lot of the people there were struggling with self-doubt. A lot of the comments and concerns were, well, what if I'm not good enough? And what if I can't? And, who's going to listen to me or whatever? I say, this is the work. This is the part of evolution that we are bringing to our awareness, is to have the awareness of, oh, I see I'm holding myself back by having that thought, or that I'm not even letting myself get started because of these beliefs and these thoughts. And when we find them, this is our opportunity for growth. And this is part of what I've been doing for myself for the last several years, is finding these thoughts, these beliefs that are keeping me small and preventing me from being my greatest self. And maybe we've had experiences in the past where somebody said, who do you think you are? And, why would anyone want to, listen to you or read your stuff or watch your movies or, whatever you're creating? Well, there's always a slice. This is one of the things I feel is important to remember. There's always a slice of humanity. There's 8 billion people here. Somebody's going to like it. If you like it, somebody's probably going to like it too. So I just say, keep going and use maybe some EFT tapping. This is what I help people with a lot when I work one-on-one with people, is these limiting beliefs, these things that say, I'm not good enough, I'm smart enough, I'm not, you fill in the blank. That, or it's scary. That's another part of it too. Like, oh, I'm being seen. Gosh, that makes me feel vulnerable. Well, that's part of being human. We are here together and yeah, we're going to be seeing each other. So be kind, be gentle, and remember that it's an old paradigm. It's an old tool that you needed possibly to survive in your younger years. Now, maybe not so. So we can let go of those things that helped us to get here. And remember, we made it. So, there's proof that it worked So we can say, well, thank you, body. Thank you, mind, for keeping me safe. And now I'm ready to start something different and see if I can, step into my greatest self. How does that relate to the lymph system? Well, I guess what it makes me feel is that, again, as we're moving things, we've got flow, we feel energized everywhere, and we're in charge. As I'm breathing, I'm allowing my lymph to move. As I'm bringing my awareness to certain places, I'm moving my lymph. And then today we're going to be doing some touch techniques that will help to move the lymph, as we did a few weeks ago for the head and face. So we're the ones in charge. Nobody's the boss of us. A very important piece of remembering is that we are individual people that have a unique energetic frequency. No two are the same, and thank goodness for that. It would be boring. So you have your own, and no one else has that. So how we can see it as like, what a gift, but also it's almost arrogant if we don't use that, right? Not to take advantage of the fact that we're here and we get to be alive and we get to create. So these are some of the things that we were discussing this past weekend. And it was really nice to be in a place where the other women, there were 10 of us, that actually had the knowing that there's more for us here and that it's important for us to share our gifts. And so these were people of the same mindset, and it felt really comfortable for me to be surrounded by these people who think the same way that I do and know that there's so much more. This is my motto for 2024 is there's so much more in 2024. And this is what's happening for us as these solar flares are bringing in more energy and we're allowing things to move through us and we're listening to our body. We're becoming more aware. Oh, there's so many wonderful changes that are happening. And Jean Houston refers to this as a renaissance. This is what's happening here. We will have the opportunity to really bring our creative gifts forward and to share them with others. And I advise and invite us all to take the time to notice, what do I like? What gives me life? What makes me feel alive? And start doing more of those things for yourself. We're the only, as you are the only one that represents that particular frequency. So that spark inside of you, it's very valuable. We need you. It's kind of like an orchestra without the oboe. We got to have the oboe to make the sound of the music to be full. So we need all of the orchestra instruments tuned finely, and then we can harmonize together. And this is what coherence is. We have coherence that happens inside the body, where all of the organs are moving harmoniously. And then we can also have coherence outside, and we're allowing that to happen more and more as we are coherent. So it's a gift to all of us. Thank you for giving your gifts. It's a gift to all of us that you are in your highest and best self and vibration and feeling the energies that are flowing inside of you and creating from that place, creating more space. And we model for other people. They say, wow, I want some of that. When they see how, when you are in your own coherence, they see it and they say, wow, I would like some of that. And so then they're drawn to that. And now they can start opening up those parts of themselves. So no pressure, but we are modeling for each other. This is what mirror neurons do. We're designed that when we see something, when we see someone suffering, we feel that. When we see someone having joy, we can feel that too. We can allow that in. So be the model for yourself and for others around you. And it's not that you have to pull anybody in a certain direction. Just being is enough. Yeah. So I think that's important for all of us to remember. Okay, let's move on into the motion today. So this is the arm we're going to be working with today. And I just wanted to, first of all, say that the arm is a way for us to move fluid back to the ducts here between the collarbones and the trapezius muscle, in that soft space in there. That's where these ducts are. And so by doing the arm, we're moving it directly into those lymph ducts. So let's begin by opening up the lymph ducts, and you can do this in two different ways. One way is to do what's called the shoulder shuffle. And so we'll raise one shoulder, and then we'll switch and raise the other shoulder as that first one drops, and then we go back and forth. So we're just switching, raising shoulders. And let's do that maybe 10 or 15 times. Thanks for joining in. I know it looks silly, but it feels really good. Okay, and then pause. And you may notice, I notice it right away. I'm feeling flow actually all the way down to my legs. So that's really great, just opening up those lymph ducts. And then another way to do this is with the hands. So we can bring the hands across the body. So the right hand to the left trapezius, and you're just going to feel that sort of beginning of the muscle there at the shoulder ridge, and then the collarbone. So between the muscle at the top of the shoulder ridge, the trapezius muscle, and the collarbone, we're just going to pull that down towards the heart. And you can cross your hands, cross your arms, so that so you're working both sides. And we're just going to pull that down. So we're sort of stretching the skin. This is not a deep pulling, pushing, not a lot of pressure, just the skin is moving. We're just moving the superficial lymph. And you might want to breathe and take a nice breath through the nose. Yeah, so we'll do that 5 times. So we want to open the ducts first before we work with the arm. All right, now the next the next area is we go into the armpit. This is called the axilla. And so you can bring your fingers into to the armpit, deep into the armpit. And then you're just going to pull again. We're just pulling the skin towards the center line. So we'll do that 5 times, pulling. I'm doing that 5 times. Okay. And there's a little bit of a release and then pull and release. And so that's what's happening there in the axilla. And then we're going to do the arm. We start with the hand. If you reach the hand out in front of you, bringing the opposite fingers to the pads of the palm, right where the fingers end. And we're just going to draw those fingers down over the wrist, down the hand over the wrist, and then the hand will kind of cradle the bottom of the arm, and you slide along the whole arm all the way up into the armpit. Make sure you go all the way into the armpit. We're going to do this 10 times. So the fingers of the opposite hand come to the base of the fingers of that hand, and we're going to slide across the palm, across the wrist, and then the rest of the hand will kind of cradle the underneath part of the arm, and then slide the skin all the way up past the elbow, all the way up into the armpit. And again, we're just going to slide. We'll do this a bunch of times. 10 times is good. So this is 4 and 5. So you see how fast we can do this. And 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, and then we're going to do the axilla one more time, 5 pulses. Okay, and we come back up to that same side lymph duct above the collarbones 5 times. Okay, now notice the difference between that arm and the other arm you haven't worked with yet. And just take a moment here. Maybe you notice some settling through the muscles. Maybe you notice the shoulders feeling softer. You might notice some flow. Maybe it got warmer. Maybe there's tingling. All of these things are important to recognize and to notice for yourself. You did that. Yeah. All right, so let's go on to the other side. So the same thing happens here. We bring the fingers all the way deep into the armpit and then slide the skin towards the midline, towards the heart. 5 times. And then we'll do the arms. So we bring the opposite hand to the palm, slide that across the palm and the wrist, and then come around the arm, underneath the arm, and slide that all the way up to the armpit. We'll do that 10 times. Make sure you go right into the armpit. And 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then 5 more times in the axilla, the armpit. We'll just draw the skin towards the heart, from the armpit towards the heart, 5 times. And then pause and notice the flow. Yeah, this feels nice. I'm feeling tingling. I'm feeling warm, feeling expansion, feeling less burdened around the shoulder area. All beautiful things. So that's really good. When we do this the first time, you may notice a lot of things moving, and that's good. May bring on a few symptoms of just knowing that things are moving through. You may have a slight headache, but just drink lots of water, rest, take it easy, and that's going to be helpful for that. All right, we're going to do one more motion with the lymph fluid, the self-lymphatic drainage. And this is for the head. So when we did the face before, we could add this into the face motion. I felt like we had enough information, so I didn't want to overdo, but this is important too, is to allow the lymph from the head to move into the ducts. What's important for this one is the placement of where you're bringing your hands and also where you stop. So when we do the head, the back of the head, we want to bring the hands behind the ears. So the ear, we'll do a little landmark here. So the ear is here. We want to bring the hands behind the ear like this and over the back of the head. So the hands are coming down the back of the head, behind the ears like this, over the neck. And then they come across that shoulder ridge and just to the ducts. We don't go beyond the ducts. That's important to stop there. So let's try this together. Bringing the hands to the top of the head, and some fingers may overlap. And then we're going, and this is behind the ear. The actual line is behind the ear. So we're bringing the hands down the back of the head, sliding down the neck, over the shoulder ridge, and just to the collarbones, no further. Okay, and we'll do that again from the top of the head, down the back of the head, down the neck, and over the shoulder ridge, just to the ducts. No further than the collarbones. And we'll do this again from the head, down the back of the head, down the neck, over the shoulders, and just to the collarbones. We can do this 5 times. So that was 3. We'll do that again. Sliding. So this is gentle on the surface. We're not digging in. We just want to slide over the skin. Very gentle, kind of like you're petting your head. And I think I just did one extra one, but we'll just pause there. Breathe. Notice what's different for you. Important part of all of these motions that we do in Move Into Coherence, this podcast, is bringing awareness, increasing our awareness of what's happening for me, what's happening in my body, what's happening in my emotions, because emotions are linked to the movement of the energy in the body, right? That's where the word comes from. Emotion is energy in motion. So when we have increased awareness, we are bringing in the motion, the emotion, we're moving that through. So if things come up for you, if emotions come up for you, hooray, this is our opportunity to allow them to process. So people talk about processing emotion, but if you don't know they're there, you don't know what to do. Well, when we do this kind of self-touch and bringing awareness to different parts of the body, increasing the flow of the lymph, we can get those emotions to move. So if something happens for you where you feel more ease and comfort and joy, allow that to come in, receive that. If you feel that there's some tenderness, some gentleness, some tears that flow, let that happen too. We would like to have this moving, because if we have something stuck, like self-doubt or people pleasing, going beyond, forgetting ourselves, these kinds of things lead to dis-ease. They lead to our illness and we get symptoms. So we're in charge. We get to decide how we want to feel in any particular moment. And by having awareness of what am I noticing? Noticing what you're noticing. It's a very valuable part of being here and being human. All right. Well, I think that's about all I have to share today. So let's do a little review. And if anyone in the chat would like to tell me what they've noticed for themselves, what you're noticing in your body, in your mind, in your mood, anything that's coming up for you, please go ahead and bring that into the chat. I would love to have a little interaction if possible. And while I'm waiting for that to happen, because I think there is a little delay, I'm going to review what we learned. So what we learned is a lot of things, actually. What we learned is that the lymph system moves our fluid, helps us to balance the pressures in the body. It helps to clean out the debris that we don't need any longer, the old cells, broken down cells and things that we don't need. Lymph does not move metastatic cells. That is not something that happens. We are not creating more disease in our body by moving the lymph. We're actually cleaning it when we do this. We're moving the wastes out. The lymph moves by breathing when we use our deep breathing. And wherever we bring our awareness in our breath, like we did with our hands, you can bring more awareness to that area. You are increasing your lymph flow. And you may notice that. And we're increasing awareness. So we notice now, oh, I'm not breathing into my belly. I'm just using the top parts of my lungs. That awareness will help us to say, oh, let me slow down. Let me just notice where we are, where there's stuckness. And we are, yay, great. And so I'm hearing someone respond to my request for interaction in the chat. Thank you, Dawn. She says, feeling so relaxed after doing the back of the head. Thank you. Yes, I agree. It's a very nice one. There's another aspect of this too, which is fun to know, that the occiput, which is that sort of sticky outy part on the back of the head, that bump there, excuse me, called the occiput. When we touch that part of ourselves, we're actually using a neurological reflex that's for a child, for an infant. You think about it, when you hold a baby, you have to hold their head. And so when we touch that for ourselves, we're going back into that young part of ourselves. And it's a very nice, comforting feeling. It increases our oxytocin, which is the love molecule, and helps us to feel bonded. It also increases our feeling of trust. So there's a lot of things that are beneficial by touching that part of our head. So I'm glad you enjoyed that. I did too. Yeah, what else did we learn about? Well, the brain has lymph vessels with lymph vessels around them. And this is what we've learned not that long ago, actually. This was in 2015 that this was discovered. So we haven't really known that there's a lymph system in the brain, but there certainly is, and they're more active when we're sleeping. So we definitely need our sleep. When we've had an injury or surgery, that's when these lymph nodes can get swollen and filled up with junk, but just know that that's what they're doing, that they're bringing stuff out. So just keep sending them attention, awareness, and touch. If you want to use these techniques that we've been learning about, this can help move that fluid out. And it may take a while. I noticed that when I was learning these techniques, I noticed that I had some lymph nodes on the back of my knees that were feeling, pretty lumpy. And I'm feeling them now just to check in and noticing now that they're not as lumpy. The lumps are small, but I've been doing this a while. And so it takes some time. If they've been clogged and, overburdened for years, this may take, several weeks, maybe months to really fully clear them out. So it's not instant. That's okay. Our body's pretty good at that. We don't want to burden ourselves with too much. Let's see. I think that's about all I have to share. I'm so glad that we had this time together. So glad that you're here with me. Thanks for waiting a week while I was in that workshop. I will be here next week. It's scheduled. But just in advance, just wanting to let you know, next week is actually my 100th episode, which I feel pretty proud of. I've actually done 100. It will be my 100th episode. So I'm really happy to have made all these videos and podcast episodes so that you can learn things about how we do move into coherence. It's important for us to know these things, and it feels really good to be able to share them with you. So thanks for listening. Thanks for being open to receiving more information about how our body works and how this whole life thing works and what we can do to increase our life force. And that's what we're in charge of. So I thank you for being here with me. And yeah, I think that's about it. So let's go ahead and do the 3 bells. And then we will see each other next time. I really do appreciate you here. And thanks for being live with me today, if you were able to do that. This has been Move Into Coherence. I'm Pamela Stokes. Take it easy. And here's our 3 bells.